I still remember the way the morning sun slipped through my kitchen window, lighting up the steam rising from my second cup of coffee. At 70 years old, most mornings felt the same, quiet, predictable. There's a certain comfort in that silence when you've spent a lifetime giving your all to your family. That day, I thought I was simply living another calm Tuesday in Westlake Hills. How could I have known? It was the calm before the storm. The doorbell rang, making me chuckle softly as I muttered to myself, "Well, that's unusual." At this age, unexpected visitors usually meant someone was selling something or delivering a package meant for the neighbors again. But when I opened the door, there stood a delivery man, not with my name scrawled on a misplaced envelope, but holding a beautifully wrapped box. Gold paper, deep burgundy ribbon. It looked like something from an upscale Austin boutique. Too elegant, too precise. Too much for a man like me, I whispered. When I saw the card, my heart stuttered like an old engine trying to fire back to life. Bigotry. To the best father in the world. With love. Friendly. Caspian. Grandparents, I just stared at it. Then I laughed, softly, almost nervously. Ha, 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 ha. Love, from my son. I hadn't heard those words from him in months. Not since he married Cordelia and slowly drifted away like winter fog pulling from the lake. But there it was, in his handwriting, a gesture of affection. I lifted the lid. Inside were chocolates shaped like roses, dusted in delicate gold flecks. They looked like art pieces, worthy of glass display, not a 70-year-old man who still bought candy from gas stations. My eyes warmed with unexpected emotion. Maybe, I thought, this is his way of coming back. And then I said it out loud, smiling into the silence of my home. These deserve a real audience. The kids, Aurelia and Orion. They'll be over the moon. I repacked the chocolates carefully, as if they were made of glass, grabbed my car keys, and climbed into my old pickup. The drive through the oak-lined streets felt strangely nostalgic. His neighborhood looked like a magazine cover. Perfect lawns, quiet roads, values measured in square footage, and quiet judgments. My hands trembled a little as I walked to his door. Ridiculous, I scolded myself. Nervous about visiting your own son? Ha! Listen to yourself, Harry. When Cordelia opened the door, her hair pulled neatly back, dressed like she'd just stepped out of an ad for upscale wellness retreats, I offered a warm smile. "Caspian sent me chocolates," I said gently. "Too fancy for this old man. Thought the children might enjoy them more." Trimson reached for the box. For a split second, I swear, I caught something in her eyes. Not surprise, not confusion, almost fear. A flicker, then gone. I ignored it. Oh, how I wish I hadn't. That night, I sat in my living room sipping tea, replaying the moment. Was that concern? Nerves? A dash of sadness? I brushed the thought away like dust on an old picture frame. "Stop overthinking," I muttered. "Maybe things are finally changing." If only I knew then. They weren't changing. They were about to shatter. Stabilized. I believed I had done something generous that day. What I didn't know was that my kindness had just triggered the unraveling of a deadly secret, one that would nearly destroy everything I loved. The next morning unfolded with the same peaceful routine. I was halfway through my first sip of coffee, that warm, familiar comfort washing over me, when the phone rang sharply at exactly 8:15 a.m. The sound startled me, not because of its suddenness, but because of what I saw on the caller ID. Caspian. Jatwerd's small smile tugged at my lips. 2 days in a row? My heart warmed at the thought. Maybe those chocolates really were the start of something new between us. Maybe, after all these years. "Good morning, son," I answered, cheerful, hopeful, perhaps naively so. But what came through on the line didn't sound like my son. His voice was tight, strained, like his lungs were struggling to draw air. "Dad, about those chocolates I sent you." "Oh, they were beautiful," I replied gently. "Truly thoughtful of you." He didn't acknowledge the compliment. "Dad," his voice cracked, Did you eat any of them?" I let out a light laugh. Trying to ease the tension. "Well, no, you know me. One look at those fancy things and I thought they belonged in your house, not mine. So I took them over to Cordelia and the kids yesterday. They love sweets." Reflective silence. Not peaceful silence, not reflecting stillness, like the moment right before lightning splits the sky in half. "Dad," he whispered, shaky, "what exactly did you do with the chocolates?" "I gave them all to Cordelia and the kids," I said slowly, my tone softening. "Why? Is something wrong?" And then, "Redhead," he screamed. I jerked the phone away from my ear as his voice exploded through the receiver, raw and tortured. "What did you do? What did you do?" Never in all my years, not through his rebellious teenage phase, not during his harshest arguments, had I heard that kind of hysteria in my son's voice. My hands trembled, and a cold wave of dread washed over me. "Caspian, son, you're scaring me," I said, my voice breaking. "Talk to me. What's wrong?" Strengthening freed rapidly, frantic. "Tell me you didn't eat even one. Not a single piece. Not a taste, even by mistake." "No, of course not," I stammered. "I didn't even open the lid properly. I took them straight to your house." Then a short, painful gasp. "Jesus Christ, Dad, you have no idea what you've done." The line went dead. I froze. My coffee sat untouched, steam rising peacefully, completely unaware that the world around it had just shifted. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. Somewhere outside, a bird continued singing, the calm cruelty of a normal morning. But inside me, something fundamental cracked. That voice, that terror, wasn't the sound of a disappointed son. It was the sound of a plan collapsing. The rest of that day dragged like a shadow behind me. I paced the living room, replaying every word, every strained breath. Why would he be terrified that I hadn't eaten those chocolates? Why panic when he knew his children had? At 4 p.m., the phone rang again. Cordelia. Her voice was barely holding together. "Harry, the children, they're sick," she said, trembling. "We're at Delatan Medical. You have to come. You have to come now." I didn't even remember grabbing my keys. My hands shook so violently I could barely start the engine. As I drove, I whispered under my breath, "Please, dear God, not the kids. Take anything but not them. Not them." My chest ached as though someone was squeezing the life from it. When I arrived, Cordelia looked like the ghost of herself, pale, eyes red and swollen. "What happened?" I asked, nearly breathless. "They ate the chocolates," she choked out. "This morning after breakfast, 5 pieces between them." My legs gave out. I sat hard on the chair beside her. How bad is it?" I whispered, fear clawing at my ribs. "Vomiting," she said softly. "Stomach pain, difficulty breathing." I closed my eyes, and that's when the doctor walked out, face grave. "Mrs. Cromwell, we have the toxicology results." Cordelia stood on weak legs. "Doctor, will they be okay?" "They will," he said slowly, but only because treatment was immediate. The tests show clear signs of arsenic exposure. I stared at him. Arsenic. The word echoed like a death bell inside my skull. The chocolates. Not a gift, a weapon. Cordelia turned to me, her voice now quiet, almost eerily calm. They weren't meant for the children, were they, Harry? They were meant for you. And finally, I understood. I thought the worst had already happened, but the truth was, that was just the beginning. Because in the next 72 hours, I would discover just how dark a son's love can become when greed outgrows humanity. The world around me faded into static. Hospital lights hummed overhead, distant beeping echoed from the emergency rooms, and Cordelia's words wrapped around my mind like icy steel. The chocolates were meant for you. My breath caught mid-air. I forced words out, but they came broken, trembling. My own son tried to kill me. Cordelia didn't speak. Her eyes, glistening and red, said everything. In that moment, the years of polite distance between us vanished. Two people who had stood on opposite ends of silent judgment now sat side by side, united by a revelation so dark, it felt unreal. For hours I stared through the hospital glass, watching Aurelia and Orion through it, tiny bodies resting, tubes taped gently to their skin, breathing softly under medical supervision. Two little hearts fighting off poison meant for an old man too generous for his own good. My throat tightened. I whispered to myself, voice trembling. Ha! Generous. That's what he always mocked me for. Kindness. My kindness saved my life and nearly killed theirs. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my truck until sunrise, whispering broken prayers, clutching the steering wheel like it was the last solid thing in my life. With each passing hour, something inside me shifted. A part of me died. Not the part that loved my son, but the part that made excuses for him. 3 days after the poisoning, I drove to Magnolia's house, my younger sister. If there was one place Caspian would run to, it would be hers. He always did. Since he was a boy, whenever he got in trouble, that's where he'd hide. I parked outside her modest ranch-style home. My hands were cold, not from weather, from fear. Not fear of what he might do, fear of what he might say. I knocked 3 times. The door opened. Magnolia stood there, and I saw it immediately. Guilt carved across her face. "Harry," she breathed, voice unsteady. I know he's here," I interrupted gently. "We need to talk." She stepped aside. Behind her, Caspian emerged from the hallway. His hair was unkempt, clothes wrinkled. He looked older, almost haunted. "Hello, Dad," he said, emotionless. My heart clenched. That voice, empty, flat. I stepped forward slowly. "Why did you try to poison me?" Silence. Then he shrugged, as if the question wasn't a knife cutting through years of love. "I don't know what you're talking about," he replied dismissively. "Those chocolates were just—" "Cut it," I snapped, louder than intended. "Arsenic doesn't appear in luxury chocolates by accident." Something in his eyes flickered. Then slowly he looked away, like a predator cornered for the first time. "You can't prove anything," he muttered. I reached into my coat pocket and placed the recording device on the table between us, pressing play. His voice filled the room. "You're a burden. I need your $850,000 now, not when you're 90. Magnolia gasped, hands covering her mouth. My son's face went pale. I stared at him. "Your children almost died." And then he cracked. His mask shattered like glass under pressure. With a voice that chilled me to the core, he spat, You've always been a weight around my neck, Dad. All that sacrifice, all that emotional guilt you call love. I never wanted it. I need the money now. What do you have left to live for anyway? The words sliced through me. My chest ached, my eyes stung, but I stayed calm. Decades of restraint finally met their limit. 42 years, Caspian, I said softly. 42 years I loved you, championed you, sacrificed everything to see you succeed. His eyes narrowed. I never asked for your sacrifices. And I never asked, I whispered, to raise a man who would look at his father and see only a price tag. Silence. Then I stood. My son died a long time ago, I said, turning toward the door.